security, right? Specifically patching. Who loves doing patching every month? Anyone? Not one hand, that's shocking. It's something that's necessary and nobody likes to do it. So the challenge is, right, we have our waves each month. So we have to set up tests, pilot, prod. Hopefully you're doing something along those lines to make sure you're testing your patches. We try to use maintenance windows to potentially control when devices are going to patch and when they're going to reboot. Using our ADRs, we can introduce some automation. So ADRs actually do a lot of the heavy lifting of the initial monthly process, which is good. And then we have post-deployment compliance. So I have yet to work in any organization when you deploy patches that every patch installs on every machine successfully. And you, what's that?
Are you recording?
I am, yes. So impact, server patching. That's generally even more fun than workstation patching because we generally have a group of people who are owners of the applications on those servers, right, that may have to do pre-checks or post-checks. So that's generally a lot of man hours spent after patching servers, making sure everything is back up, right? Is my IAS back up and running? Is my SQL Server processes back up and running after patching, right? So a lot of post-deployment checks that have to go into that. And of course, troubleshooting failed deployments, which is always a monthly thing, unfortunately. And then finally, you have to report, right? So our security departments are getting more and more leverage within organizations these days, right? Pushing for security and compliance. We're seeing a big ramp up in the security teams really kind of bogging down on the patch compliancy. John can probably attest to that. In the workstations, again, we have the same process. Now, we don't generally have to have people running around making sure that, you know, Outlook is back up and running and things like that. Workstations are a little bit more simplified from that perspective. But we do have to start troubleshooting failed deployments, right, and also do compliance reporting. So compliancy is the big keyword here, right? Our security teams are on the infrastructure team to make sure that we are being compliant because there's a lot of nasty things that have come out from malware to ransomware, everything else, right? It's a major threat that's constantly being combated. A lot of the troubleshooting efforts are around disk space, not enough disk space, CBS store corruption, that's always a fun one, or just broken config manager clients that aren't properly managing the Windows Update agent, getting its software. And a lot of times what I see, and I can tell you I was guilty of this early in my IT career, that patch management on the workstations tends to be a set and forget. Right? Servers have a lot more visibility, but a lot of times people just deploy patches each month and move on. Next month they deploy patches and move on because they have 30 other things that they have to get done, right? They don't have the time to sit and focus on remediating dozens or even hundreds of machines that are having problems. So how do we optimize this process? PowerShell is the very first good line of defense. So if you're not using PowerShell today, which I think most people in this day and age are, you should get very familiar with it because it can do things, it basically can do just about anything you can conceive, to the point of a couple of years ago, one of our partners actually wrote a Space Invaders game purely in PowerShell, just to demonstrate the fact that you can do just about anything you want to do in PowerShell. So it's a very, very powerful tool. Obviously, it integrates very nicely with Windows and SCCM, so you could do a lot of good scripting in that. Or, instead of writing all that yourself, we actually have a product, the Model APS, or the Automated Patching System, that is 90% PowerShell driven with a database backend that is a full automated end-to-end server patching solution. So things that we can do, right, is we define our owners and our matrix, who owns what servers, who needs to be notified in the event the servers are successfully patched or there's a problem or they're compliant, whatever the case may be. And we map all of that out with you so that when it comes time for the automation to run, it knows who to contact and who the owners are in the events of success and failures. In addition, this product can do pre and post health checks. So we were talking about one of the big man hours spent in server patching is the server owners going back and verifying all the services are back up, right? We can do that now by defining that in the automated patch solution. We can define this server is a web server and it has these things that need to be up and running, and we can put automation into the process that says when it's done patching, verify those services are running. And if those services are not running for it, then we can notify the server owners. Monitoring through the whole process, right? It's all database driven, PowerShell driven, and then again, alerting and notifications throughout the process. So if you're interested in hearing more about APS or seeing a demo, you can ping myself or Steve or Jason here to get a little bit more deep dive into what that is. The other thing, this is a little bit of self-promotion here, but our unified endpoint management as a service, we manage patch processes each month for several of our clients, mostly on the workstation side and in addition to some server-side management. So with our services, right, we're a team of engineers that have been doing this for a very long time. So we try to take that off of your plate, manage the end-to-end process, right? And we are the guys that can focus on remediation and compliance while you guys are getting projects thrown at you from the business. Right? So it's another way to kind of offset and remove some of that daily or monthly grind of software update management. So the ultimate goal there, right, is to be secure and compliant. That's what our security teams, and I mean, we want that too, but our security teams are making sure we want that. So lots of ways to take that and move that into a scenario where very little requirement for you, but very high compliance reporting.